I'm back after the summer hiatus. I have to admit, it has been very hard getting back into the garden after some time away with the extreme heat we've been getting here in southeast Queensland. If it hasn't been scorching hot, it has been raining. Having said that, the garden hasn't been a complete write off. We've been able to harvest a fair bit, loads of capsicum, sweet corn, beans, and cucumbers. Also, our basil supply has been great. I've managed to dehydrate enough for the year, and also I've created a massive pesto roll for the freezer, which lasts us ages. We've also had some amazing dragon fruit. Our watermelon was fantastic, and we finally managed to get a pineapple before the rats. Our passion fruit vines are loaded, but I wouldn't be surprised if most of these succumb to fruit fly. Our mulberry tree is also a bit confused and it has a little bit of fruit on it now too. When we went away, we decided not to bother with worrying about the garden, getting it looked after, and just decided to let it do its thing. Considering it did not rain for the whole time that we were away, and it was probably one of the hottest weeks in December, the main casualty that we had was just some climbing blue lake beans. Everything else seemed to do pretty well. Before we went away, we got a load of mulch from a local arborist. We did leave it sit for a few weeks and it definitely started to cook. Whilst I was intimately acquainting myself with the toilet bowl from a bug I had acquired overseas, hubby managed to get all the paths around the garden done for me, which was well timed as the weeds were really making too many places for no ropes to hide. I managed to finally feel better after some homegrown herbal tea of rosella, dried ginger, lemon balm, and some Tulsi basil. I definitely want to plant more to make herbal teas this year. The gardens are generally looking a bit barren for now. I decommissioned a lot of the beds and mostly I've put in cover crops in preparation for our best growing season, which is autumn. I put in an order for a cubic meter of compost from Red Soil Organics as my compost making has really slowed down. I really need to change that this year and make it a priority. I've had loads of caterpillars doing damage, usually under nets ironically, and I think I have either a rat or possum in my garden eating off every single lettuce seedling I plant overnight. The bed I planted out back in December, filled with basil, lettuce and beans, has been great. We did get loads of lettuce before we went away, but it was so hot when we were away that a lot of it did bolt to seed and the chickens got most of the lettuce in this bed. Normally I do plant more succession with lettuce, but because it has been so hot, I haven't bothered to. I will be waiting for a few more cooler days when there's a little bit more rain about to get some more in here. The sweet basil has been producing amazing, but the different varieties that I got in the combo pack look like they have a bit of downy mildew. It's the first time that I've ever had that, so I'm not 100% sure that it is that. And I am just guessing it just came in that punnet of seedlings as it wasn't on the plain sweet basil mix. The November bed, we got loads of corn when we came back from the holiday, so it survived in this wicking bed. We also got loads of cucumbers. I actually really loved these Market Mall cucumbers, even though they have that tougher skin than the Lebanese varieties that we normally grow. They lasted so well in the fridge. So as you can see, I picked loads of these and they all kept, we didn't have to throw out any of them. We ate them all. The bed I planted out back in October with the Roma tomatoes, I had some purple climbing beans and the crystal apple cucumber. This one I knew was going to drop because I did use the old straw bale garden. So as you can see, the garden has dropped quite considerably. I popped a net over this entire bed and we didn't get a lot of the crystal apple cucumbers, but we did get a few. And then I had an invasion of armyworms under the net. I get a little bit complacent with nets and I don't check on things as often as I do the rest of the garden. And when you have that small outbreak with no predators really putting things in balance, it can get out of hand quickly, and that's what happened. I ended up just removing the net entirely and things just really did bounce back. I did lose the cucumbers, but the tomatoes have put on a whole new swing of fruit, and I've been picking loads of these Purple King beans. I'm letting the beans go to seed now because I do have a lot of other varieties around the garden, but these have been really good over summer. My September bed is now completely cleared out. This is where I had my other run of corn. I did seriously contemplate planting some jicama, I'm not sure how you say it, but I think I missed the window of that, and I do want to leave some space for autumn plantings as this front garden area gets the most sun in winter. I will definitely plant it next year around the same time as my sweet potatoes, and I also want to get some cassava in as well to see how that handles our heat here. Now, I didn't do a video for my January planting, but I did plant out a bed of corn in a bed that was riddled with root knot nematode. And I also popped in a cherry tomato, some spring onions, some more lettuce and beans in the wicking bed out the back. My lettuce, however, are disappearing overnight. It's either a rat or a possum or potentially even a cutworm. But looking at some of the damage right on the middle rail of our fence line, on our snake beans and parsley, I'm going to guess that it's most likely a rat. Plants growing along the top rail of the fence don't seem to be being affected, but I am contemplating getting a trail camera just so I can confirm. Cutworms usually leave a little bit of leaf around, and usually they show up late February, so I don't think it's that. I'm going to tidy up this corner bed, as likely if it is rats, they are hiding in behind this corner bed. My biennial beds are doing really well. I do have a mealybug outbreak, but I did also see the mealybug ladybugs that eat them, so I'm letting them do their thing. You have to be careful, as those predator larvae from those ladybugs look a lot like the mealybugs, so you could be squashing or affecting beneficial insects if you just go out there and start spraying the mealybugs. One of my wicking beds is failing, or I should say it's probably working a little bit too well. It's basically far too wet. It was the second one that I set up where I actually used a plastic crate for the reservoir, but I think my sand level isn't high enough, so I will need to fix that up. I probably need to also increase the amount of perlite in the mix just so there are pockets of air within the soil media. We still haven't covered the wicking beds, and we are still yet to set up the other two that I want to do and move the aquaponics. Both of those jobs are probably going to be reserved to when the weather cools down, as it's just too hot at the moment. The okras that we planted in the middle of our sweet potato beds are doing okay. I think next time I will plant them a little bit earlier than the sweet potato slips. But the sweet potatoes are doing awesome. They are overflowing out of the beds. I've been trimming them back to make sure they focus on tuber development as opposed to leaf development, and also stopping them from taking over and getting in the way of our paths and potentially making hiding spots for snakes. So far we've got 4 decent loofahs from this one plant that I'm growing here over the arch. The snake beans are doing well. We were overloaded at one point, so I slowed down on picking, which has slowed down the harvest on these guys. The sunflowers put on their show and are now just finishing up. I am surprised the cockatoos haven't gotten a hold of them yet. I'll probably plant some more, and I was thinking of leaving the stalks in here and planting some sweet peas to climb up them when it cools down. We have finally replaced our water tank that went away with some renovations mid last year, and we've upgraded to 10,000 litres. Previously we only had 5,000 litres. We do plan on getting some more under deck tanks with the next lot of renovations, but this tank is doubling what we had previously. Now we just have to wait for it to rain, as it hasn't rained since we got the thing, and I am looking forward to having rainwater again because I do think that makes a huge difference in the garden. In the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be ramping things up again and planting loads of seed for our cool season crops. Funnily enough, this is going to include our big tomatoes, as autumn is the best time for us to grow them. We have far less issues and the fruit fly isn't as bad. Anyway, that is a wrap up of everything that has been happening in our garden in the last 6 weeks in the peak of summer here in our subtropical garden. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.